What feels rude but actually isn't. Not being available 24/7 despite being reachable 24/7. Ending a conversation with someone who is legit trying to commandeer your time. Asking for money that is owed to you. It seems awkward and rude but it really isn't, or at least shouldn't be. Being honest with someone about their abilities. There's a way to do it without being rude. I spent 2 years studying a craft in a very competitive field, and toward the end of the first year I started to fall behind, and my instructor started to give me polite responses instead of actual feedback. So I followed him to his office one day and said, I feel like I'm getting shrugged off. I know I'm not going as well as others, but lay it on me. He didn't want to because these are people's lifelong dreams and it's hard to crush people's spirits. But he laid it all on the line. Said I'm going hang on for a while and fizzle out within a couple of years. I asked for specifics. He hit back even harder. I didn't take it hard, and in fact I was excited because I was going to fail anyway. Before he was brutally honest, but now I had specifics to work on and improve on. A couple years later we were talking, and he said, you know, I was wrong about you, and I got to say no, you were so right. And if you hadn't told me all of that, I wouldn't have worked on it. Because of his honesty I had two choices that were better than the path I was on. Either find something else to do with my life, or hone in on my shortcomings and work tirelessly on them, and if it hasn't gotten better a year from now then I can find something else to do with my life. I got better over that year and now work in the field I'd started my studies in. That definitely wouldn't have been the case if that instructor had kept being polite and never gave it to me straight. You gotta be honest with people you know. Not in a mean way, not fully unsolicited. But if you're not honest with something people are trying to get good at or pursue a career in, you're setting them up for failure by not pointing out weaknesses they can fix, or by accidentally encouraging them to go down a path that leads to a dead end. Passing people who are walking really slowly. Oops, sorry, just going to squeeze by. Sorry about that. Leaving a party/function early, or even at a reasonable hour. A lot of people take offense if you leave before the end and it's a drag. Not being able to do favors for someone when asked. Calling out of work when I'm sick. Most act like I'm faking it, so makes me feel bad whenever I need to due to medical issues. When you're at a craft fair or farmer's market or some other outdoor event where people have a bunch of tables set up to sell their wares, go up to a table to check out what they're selling and walk away. Either you don't like what they have, or they're selling their nice soaps for way too much money. They are looking at you this whole time with this happy, expectant look on their face, like this is it, I'm going to get a sale. Or worse, when you ask them what they're all about, and they go into this long pitch about their thing, only for you to realize that you're not interested. I always feel like a complete pss for going, yeah, well, okay, bye. Saying no to anything. Not hanging out with people because you are tired. Asking for assistance. Calling people out for social misconduct. As in saying they are coming in 5 minutes, only to not hear from them again. Mildly specific, I know. Waking into a restaurant and then walking out without getting anything. You might think the cook will be offended, but they are probably just relieved that they don't have to do more work. Actually, I'm not in the mood of talking right now. Asking someone to please move. Correcting someone if they mispronounce my name. Accepting an offer that doesn't benefit the other person too. Accepting a gift with a simple thank you. Making a decision. When someone asks you where you want to eat, for example, an actual suggestion is way better than I don't care. Where do you want to eat? Saying no thanks when offered more food. Especially at a family function. There's always those relatives that offer so much. I really don't need to eat that much food. Telling people what you want as far as your boundaries. I really don't like being touched. Please don't touch me. I prefer not to text a lot during work hours. I don't like making last minute plans. Next time please, let's set up plans ahead of time. I don't think we really click. I don't think this is working. But standing up for your boundaries encourages people to stand up for theirs, too. I'm not interested in your product or service. Please remove me from your distribution list. Not continuing the pay it forwarded drive-thrus. It's happened several times to me, and I've always reciprocated. I've hit a financially rough time, and I'm working 6 days a week starting at 5:30. If I miss a coffee the rest of my morning will feel like hell, even though I'm pushing my budget to get one. The cashier told me my coffee was paid for already, so I left a small tip and went about my way. I'll pay it later when circumstances are better. Rejecting kiosk workers feels rude, but I digress. I went to a mall and I have really big, thick hair. One girl asked me if I ever straighten it and I said no, and she was like, well, this straightener is easy, less damaging. Let me try it on you. And I said no thanks, and then she's like, come on, I insist. And I was like, no oops thank you. Then like an hour later I walked by the same kiosk again and a different guy was working and asked to try the straightener on my hair and I said no, and he asked why not and I said because I don't like straightening my hair. He's like, well, this is not time consuming. And I got really mad and kinda yelled, I'm not buying a hair straightener from you. Saying you need space/time to yourself. I don't know why, but it always feels like I'm being rude when I tell people this, even though it's just part of life and needing some alone time/time to think and reflect. Asking, how do we know each other? I remember you. It's just been a while. Help me out. Don't be offended please. Texting with a proper punctuation. Telling the truth about something that might hurt, but is going to save your butt in the long run. Giving PPL the thumbs down motion, especially when driving. My dad and I do that instead of flipping PPL off. Gets PPL madder than ps, but it's still hilarious. Discussing salary. It's a good way to make sure you and your coworkers are all being treated fairly. Asking someone to correct your food order. Walking out of the store without buying anything. I remember a monk was staying with my great uncle in New Hampshire, and he did not speak English very well, but he wanted to learn more, so he encouraged people to correct him. He was super interesting and nice, but it always felt awkward and rude as hell to correct his English and help him with it, even though he wanted to get better at speaking it. Denying a handshake these days. Putting your money in your wallet after a purchase with a line behind you. Telling the truth. Had my honeymoon last December, and I upgraded our seats for the long flight. Of course, this includes higher boarding priority than coach, which I had never experienced before. Boarding the plane for the trip home, we walked up to the gate just after our group had finished boarding, and I walked past the line, straight to the front, and boarded ahead of everyone still queuing for coach. A few people made comments, like I guess they think they are more important than we are, which was pretty rude, if you ask me. There was nothing wrong with it. We actually boarded later than we should have, and couldn't put our bags in the reserved overhead space, because it was filled. Asking for the correct food when servers get your order wrong. I still have a hard time with that. No, you cannot hold my infant son. Go away, and take your potentially disease-ridden breath with you. Turning down a salesman. Asking how much the job pays before the interview. Saying that your waiter have you the wrong order. My brain still tells me that if I say something the FBI will know, and suddenly I will be electrocuted. Not answering your own door when someone knocks. People, you don't need to answer your own door. You don't have to hide, so the person doesn't see you either. Stare at them through the window until they walk away if you want. It's your house. They are bothering you. There are 100 reasons why a person won't answer their door. You're napping. You're in the bathroom. You're on the phone. You're in the backyard. You're sick. You're eating. You're too lazy. You don't feel safe. etc. Hell, you just don't feel like it. Hopefully the person picks one in their head quickly and kind leaps off your porch. It feels wrong to make complicated coffee orders at Starbucks to me. For women, being straight up and telling a guy you are not interested/not interested anymore. For reference, I was briefly seeing someone at the start of the year, and while I thought it was going decently well, she eventually told me that she was at a point in her life where she was too busy with school/career ambitions to continue dating. While I was bummed out for a short while, I really appreciated that she was polite and direct in telling me that. Was she actually too busy to date? I don't know. It's not my business to know, and it doesn't really matter. What matters is that she saved both of us time and effort just telling me she wasn't interested anymore. However, this only works as far as the other party is a rational actor. I can completely understand why people resort to ghosting, giving fake numbers, being indirect, etc. as the best case scenario for many women is the other party understanding and leaving them alone. The worst case scenario is that the other party becomes angry, aggressive, threatening, etc. Giving direct, nope answers. Not saying goodbye for the second time, cause you already said goodbye but ended up going on the same direction. Recurring expected compliments. I have a coworker that paints and will show her work all the time, which is cool. But I only compliment on work painted that I like when I see it. I don't like to hand out compliments just because they're expected. Being polite is easy. A lot of people take it for being kind or nice. It's not. I can politely say no or even kick someone out of a store or even embarrass them. There was a guy who walked into one of my businesses the other day who wasn't wearing a mask. I let the employee go on break and handled the situation myself. He flat ignored her. She was very loud and assertive, but he ignored it. So I felt it best to speak with the man myself. He told me, oh, I have a medical condition. I told him I'm denying you service to my store. Leave or stay and be arrested. He said he would sue me into the ground. I still kind of hope he does. Saying you're welcome. It makes me feel as though I'm agreeing that they need to thank me, so I always go with no worries. I've always felt saying rip when someone dies was disrespect, or at the very least just felt off. Maybe that's just me though. The silence and lack of smile. Existing. Saying no to sending people nudes. Dropping a massive at a mate's place. Come to think of it, I think that could count as rude. Going into a small store and leaving without buying anything. Leaving dirty dishes and crumbs at tables at restaurants. Maybe it's just me because I work in food service too, but I always feel bad just leaving it there. Telling your friends you don't want to hang out. Asking someone to keep their distance. Setting boundaries. Someone disagreeing with you. Feels like a lot of people get offended by this. For heaven's sake, I got a lot of hate just for saying Endgame was okay and not the greatest movie in the world. Writing RIP instead of rest in peace. Saying excuse me. Depends where you're from, but burping at the dinner table, because when you burp at the dinner table that means the food was good. Asking someone to explain their thought process when they do something wrong. Denying hugs or asking people to stop touching me, even if it's just something like a pat on the shoulder. Telling the waiter your order was messed up. Telling someone they have something on their face, in their teeth, etc. It's actually thoughtful and kind, but can feel rude because the recipient is embarrassed and you're pointing out something wrong. Saying no thank you when someone offers you something you don't want, food, time, attention, whatever. When someone says you have a budger or lipstick on your teeth, haha, it feels rude for 5 seconds, then I'm just like thanks though. Referring to a female dog as ups. Being corrected. Even if you're 100% wrong, the brain has a tendency to act like you got slapped. Asking a stranger to stand further from you in a queue during pandemic. When someone invites you to do something, just telling them you don't want to. One of my friends is the brutally honest type, and it used to rub me the wrong way sometimes until one day I asked if he wanted to do something. He only replied, "That sounds like ups," and just then it finally clicked to me. Even in his brutal honesty, that was a million times more acceptable than people who make lame excuses instead of just saying they don't want to. Choosing to do what you want to do with your days off. The zipper merge. It reduces traffic overall, but you look like ups. Wanting to be alone to recharge my social battery. Not speaking to the police. Existing. Saying you don't want to do something without giving a reason. Getting a stranger's attention. You don't know their name, so you just have to be like, excuse me, which is really awkward and feels a little dehumanizing. If you're in a loud environment, it's even worse because you have to be more forceful than you otherwise would because they won't immediately recognize their name. Then they turn around awkwardly and are like, who, me? Late zipper lane merges. You're supposed to use the road until the end. Pulling out. Asking for your items that you lent months ago, but never had the time to get back. Correcting someone on pronouns. Saying no thank you to a friend offering you a bit of their meal. Saying no to a person. Sorry, what do you mean? Slurping noodle soup. Wearing a hat while dining out. Wearing a hat and slurping noodle soup while dining out. Pooping at a friend's house.